Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 149. My name is Greg. I am the Bat Daddy 52. I am joined by my friends, my co-hosts, and colleagues, and together we are geeks chasing squirrels across the multiverse. The multiverse is large. We have a lot of stuff to cover tonight. We are almost to 150, though, y'all. Can y'all believe that? Most podcasts that start don't last past 7 episodes. Okay? Because they don't get the results they want after 7 episodes. We don't get the results after 149 episodes, and we keep going. It's fun. We like to talk about this kind of stuff, and we always have something to talk about. So I am going mobile tonight. I'm actually on my phone because I have no internet. So if the sound is a little different, I'm sorry about that. Ross is producing for me, and I do appreciate that. A lot of stuff to talk about. We have some premieres again this week. We had 2 last week, 1 this week, which is awesome. Always new stuff coming out. But let me introduce the co-host here, Ross producing. How are you doing, bud?
I am happy to be healthy again. I have been sick all week, and it has been crappy.
Oh, bless your heart.
There's nothing like waking up in like full body pain and like, not being able to breathe and like just like massive like flu snuck up out of nowhere or something like that. I was like, allergies I can deal with. A little bit of ragweed. I don't like rags, but I'm cool with weed. Next thing I know, like I'm down for the count. And dude, I like finally woke up this morning like I have energy. So got back up and going again. So just in time for the weekend. Not like I planned it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the only time to really feel good anyways, the weekend, right? So
there you go.
Sarah, what's up?
I'm about to throw this computer across the damn room. Some bitch is already like gummed up. I'm like, is it some of the internet? Is it internet? Is that what it is?
I don't know what
the kids are back in school, man. You don't know like what that does.
I mean,
to the
usually
internet.
I got like 15 devices in my house pulling off of it. Usually I don't have a problem. I'm like, oh my God, seriously? No, but you know what? It's been that kind of week.
Yes.
It's just been that kind of week. Like I said, I had a little therapy session today. I just added to the artwork on the body. So I'm like, okay, that made me a little bit happier. So yeah, I mean, if you
are always adding to the artwork on the body, which is fantastic.
I come to realization. I don't like the way my legs look, and there's nothing really I can do about it because I'm getting older and they're starting just not as cute as they used to be. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna cover this shit up. Just gonna cover it up.
Accessorizing.
Exactly. So I mean, I think it just looks a hell of a lot cuter now. But it was just like, oh my God, this week has just been insane. I don't know if there's something in the water or what. But
I've been without internet for 5 days.
Oh God.
And I don't see the end in sight until like maybe Monday or Tuesday, possibly the late, like earliest.
Dude, you might as well go back to dial up.
It's crazy. I'm telling you, like it's survival. But the funny thing is me and my wife both can do a mobile hotspot, so we can run almost everything in our house off a mobile hotspot.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you organize it right. But it's just kind of crazy. You're talking about tattoos though. Like it's funny. I love tattoos, and like I think when I was from the time that I turned 18 until I was 21, I got like 5 because I loved just it was awesome. Then like life hits me and it starts to realize how expensive they are. And I just haven't gotten one since. And I want to, I really, really want to. I've designed a few, like I've got some really cool ideas. I found a deal the other day for a tattoo artist here in a tattoo shop about 30, 40 minutes away from me right now. Mm-hmm. It's $1,000 from open to close. For $1,000, they'll tattoo you as much as you can stand, as long as you can take for $1,000.
What are their hours?
Yeah, it sounds pretty crazy, but like if you were to be able to like do a full sleeve,
5 is about my limit.
Well, I mean, if you were to be able to if somebody could do a full sleeve on me in like 8 hours, I could sit through 8 hours for $1,000 because that'd be a $3,000 sleeve any of the time,
Dude, I've been at the DMV. I totally can do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the outline's fine. It's when they get to doing that shading, I'm like, okay, that takes a little bit.
It's only certain areas that really bother me. Other than that, I don't really mind anything. But certain areas kind of get there. But I mean, it's nothing intolerable. I felt worse before.
I mean, it's not. Like I said, it just feels like a sunburn. That's what I've always equated it to. Anybody has ever asked, what does it feel like? I mean, it just feels like a sunburn.
And I don't know, when it gets on the inside of the arm here, right towards the armpit, it feels a little worse than a sunburn.
Yeah, like the one I have right here. Yeah, you're like, it's kind of hard to sit still on those.
Oh yeah.
But I have 17 now.
17?
Mm-hmm.
You sound like me and animals.
They vary in sizes.
I'm going to be doing them as I get older because I don't have any right now because I spent my life screwing off, spending money elsewhere. So
that's me.
Probably better spent, to be honest with you. Well, I don't know. I love my tattoos. I mean, I want to cover up one, but beyond that, the rest of them, I love my tattoos. I mean, I drew every one of them so that way nobody would ever have the same thing I do.
It's like I'm running out of space.
Yeah, you'll never run out of space.
Well, I want to keep this arm open. I've got them on the inside here, but I want to keep this one open. But this one, I have the sleeve here and I have here. So, I mean, it's like I don't want to have like two sleeves, but like the thighs, yeah, I'm covered in bitches because anybody
see for anybody viewing, they're kind of mad right now because you're talking about it with a long sleeve jacket on or like cardigan on, talking about your sleeves.
Oh, the guns!
Showing them off.
Slow down! Yeah. The guns are coming out.
There we go. So for anybody viewing right now, Rick was in the chat. By the way, what's up? Sarah has some awesome.
My favorite.
Oh yeah.
Well, all right. Well, y'all want to get started before we get into any shows? Ross, did you have anything you wanted to put out there we can discuss?
It's been a real quick and loose week. I mean, everyone pretty much knows most of the news, but like Star Wars, we were supposed to go see Rogue One and put up some numbers this weekend, man. I mean, like that was like unbelievable, kind of like what they turned out for a re-released version only in IMAX, and like that thing has been taking the country by storm.
Well, it had all three of our monies, so yeah. It did. We didn't get to go, but it had all three of our monies. We were going to go to that. So
yes.
Sorry about that. But.
I mean, take it for what you will. I'm for it. Rian Johnson's trilogy is still happening. They apparently can't hit the news yesterday or the day before. We get more Star Wars. I'm cool with that. We'll see what happens.
I'm cool with Rian Johnson's trilogy as long as it's Rian Johnson's trilogy, and like from beginning to end, that's what we get.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see a lot of things muddled with, even if it looks like going into it or. Part of the way through it, it's not like great reviewed or anything else. Just finish what you started, because I think that's where they screwed up in the last one, to be truly honest with you.
Well, I mean, he came in under budget. All the critics loved the movie. Everyone and everything that was said about it was good, and it divided the fans. But I'm going to tell you, like, we're going to talk about Rings of Power tonight, and that right there basically saw like a critic, where do they call that? Where they're not allowed to release the anything about it up until like a few days before it comes out. Now that the show is actually out, they released all of the critics' takes on the whole entire show, and they did that so that no one could talk trash about it before it came out and have fans or the lack thereof destroy it on the internet.
Yeah,
almost like a no-disclosure agreement type thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a word for it, and it's escaping me right now. But I know the simple fact that they did that, I'm actually pretty proud of, because, I mean, you look at all of the drama around. I mean, with the countless 50+ hours of like MCU content they have right now, everyone's going on before the stuff actually comes out to talk trash about it. And same thing about movies that are coming out that people really want to see. I mean, take it for what you will. Let the first weekend happen. Let the fans come out and talk about it. Don't give them a platform to talk trash before anyone's actually seen it.
Right.
That's all that I say.
People are very influential. I mean, people, regardless of what you think, like when you have somebody who's opinion you respect, you listen to what they say, like, and they can influence you. So that's why I've kind of like recently going into a lot of stuff without looking at a lot of stuff and diving deep into it, because then I'm going into it with my opinions. But that's a big thing, man. Like whenever you start to see things a week before it comes out, this is critics are saying this is terrible and this and this and this. Some people, and a lot of people, myself sometimes included, start to get ideas in their head about what's going to happen, and they start to become influenced or pushed down that path of whatever the critics want you to think before they ever see it. You know?
Totally. I think that
everybody wants to have their scoop and a big scoop. Oh well, this is my same thing with She-Hulk. I mean, they're talking shit about it before it even came out.
It's unfair to people, man. Like I'm like why?
Just let everybody make their own opinions. Like everybody just start at the same spot and then go from there.
And we talk about things week to week, and like I've had to explain to a lot of people, like that's really tough to do because it's hard to talk about things, and so many people hate them. Like you shouldn't be allowed to hate it because until you know how the story develops, like why even have an opinion? I mean, like
that's the thing about it. Everybody's got an opinion now. Whether it's
right.
it's like, does it say that my opinion isn't any more valid than yours?
No.
But the fact of the matter is the fact that we can discuss it instead of being assholes to each other. That's the difference.
The point of all the water cooler talk. That's and Lost is like one of the last shows, like Lost, Sopranos. That whole like time frame was like the very last little bit where people could have the water cooler talk. You could talk about the weekly episodes, and like everyone was like, "What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?" And like then you always had jerks came by and like, "Well, this dude's gonna get killed off," and like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just talking trash just to stir up the pot. Now with everyone having the internet, there are countless of those a-holes everywhere, and so what do you do with it? I don't know. All that I want to say is that it could be good, and I'm gonna give it a shot. So why not? I think at this point, like next week we get D23, and that's going to be a real big second half of the drop for all of the Disney, Star Wars, and anything else that Disney owns, which is almost everything. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see what comes of that, and then Lord knows there's going to be crap talk about that too. So,
well, there's always going to be crap talk about everything, man. There's people who love to hate just for the sake of hating.
The haters ball. Oh, hey.
Yeah, life's a lot more enjoyable if you just give everything a chance. Check it out. I mean, there's certain things that I know for a fact I won't like, but it doesn't mean that I have to hate it. There's a difference between tolerating and hating, I guess. Yep.
So, we get D23, but we do not get a fandom for this year.
No fandom. I like fandom.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw
what they can really say.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I don't know if you guys saw the video that I sent in the group chat earlier this week. And it was
it's not the popularity of fandom. It's the lack of content, I guess, is the reason we have no fandom. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense.
Well, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna say that's the case. That's gonna be our positive spin on it. I don't know. We're a lot of things are still up in the air. They haven't said everything that they're talking about canceling because they have some things that we have not seen officially. So they still can play the card of whether or not they want to get rid of it.
Are you talking about Warner Brothers or D23?
No, Warner Brothers DC.
Warner Brothers DC. Okay.
Yeah.
You're saying they have stuff they haven't showed us yet?
Well, I mean, there's they've had TV shows and stuff like that in the making that they were going to bring out that, we haven't really seen anything but behind the scenes, fan shot stuff of.
Okay.
Did we did we get anything official from Blue Beetle?
I did see some shots from Blue Beetle, some actual.
But was it official or was it behind the scenes?
It was official. Well,
it was.
I don't want to say.
But we also saw official stuff from Batgirl, but it wasn't footage. Maybe that's the dividing line.
Yeah, I didn't see footage. I saw photos, set photos, and they looked legit. And if at least the people I get this stuff from, I trust that I would say that I saw from Lee, I trust. So, I can't remember how long ago that was. It seemed like a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, there's examples and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about. We don't know what's going to happen. So, who knows what they're going to actually be able to throw out? Cavill's back all over the news articles. Whether or not he's going to be Superman again. Apparently, someone said something, and now he's back in the news with it. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want to see Henry Cavill as Superman if they're not going to bring back the whole ensemble.
As,
Go ahead.
as much as I absolutely fucking love Henry Cavill as Superman, excuse me, Ross, I have to agree with you. I really do. Like, I really do think that, look, BVS is my favorite movie. MOS is right there, number two. Like, I love this John, like Zack Snyder's vision. But at this point, if you're not going to full on continue it, kill it. Please kill it. Okay? Because I need to separate from these characters. I need time to separate from these characters because Ben Affleck is still my Batman. Henry Cavill is still my Superman. Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg is my Lex Luthor. Like, sadly enough, Jared Leto is my Joker. Like, I'm sorry, but I need time to separate from these characters because I love this universe. This is my DC universe. Not saying that I can't move forward and I can't enjoy something else, but I need a full-on separation from this and then move on, which sucks because that means, unfortunately, losing Zachary Levi as Shazam. That means losing Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Like, and I love those characters. Losing Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, I love those characters.
I can't lose my Wonder Woman now. That's a high bar. That's a high
I understand, but I just need a full separation. I really do, because any connection to it is just going to tug at my heartstrings,
but I think they're
I'm never
going
to have that universe again.
Like, they got a new head. Everyone's describing this guy as the new Kevin Feige of the DC. He's going to be the man with the new 10-year plan. But at the same time, like, yes, I hope that you do that, but it's going to take you like 3 years to get up and going, 5 before we see something like really good on screen. And I mean, how much time do you have on your hands?
Well, the only thing I could argue with that is I think now that's not necessarily true. I think like in the Iron Man, Incredible Hulk days, yeah, you're looking at like a 5-year startup before you really get something rolling. But now this stuff's already rolling. Like, people are ready for DC to come out swinging, I think, because regardless of what you think of the characters you've seen so far, people will always love Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They will always do it. It's like they are bigger name brands than any other superheroes other than maybe Spider-Man in the entire world. And maybe X-Men, you can throw them in there too. But they really are. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, that's it. That is the creme de la creme right there. Those are the guys. So people are going to go see these people no matter what you put out there. I think people just want to see some continuity and they want to see something good. And when I say good, they want to see the Marvel blueprint, which is fine because Marvel has a fantastic blueprint. They've done a phenomenal job. To copy them would be flattering them because they've done a phenomenal job of what they've done. I just don't think that with what Marvel has done in so many years that you need a 3 to 5 year startup. I think they could probably come out with, I think they should follow the animated series like version. Start out with a Justice League movie, Justice League War, introduce everybody, then go your separate ways, and then eventually bring you back together. Me personally, and that's semi-Marvel movie. And it's kind of what they tried to do, but it got kind of messed up.
Yeah. And Richard's in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chats, Greg, but he was asking, who do you think would be the next best actress to play Wonder Woman?
I think you'd have to get unknown. I mean, honestly, I just don't know. I mean,
I'd have to do some research. I would.
Yeah.
There can definitely be somebody who can play her well. Like, I'm not, but Gal Gadot is an amazing.
Case in point. When they introduced
Wonder Woman.
When they introduced Gal Gadot, I was even like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was kind of on the fence about her, anyways. But then it's like soon I was like, okay, I'm good. So I mean, it would take a lot to really like surpass her role.
I don't think it would take a lot. I think that what she brought to the table was enough like mysteriousness, like with the accent, with the, I mean, I don't mean this the way it's gonna come out, but like the skin color, like the way that she just came across physically and verbally, like just the way that she acted that character was enough to be in charge. It was just enough. I'm trying to figure out who I am and what I'm doing, and I'm really good at who I am and what I'm doing. So I thought that was that's just something that I think that you can get it. I just don't know enough new players in the game at this moment to really say that. I mean, same thing for like Superman and Batman. You know, I mean, like a lot of people play Batman. I was not on the fence or I was not comfortable with Ben Affleck right off the bat. The dude won me over.
It wasn't really, yeah.
And Henry Cavill is a sexy beast. I mean, that dude can play Superman in my heart all day long. But once again, you can't have them all. I mean, like, what do you do with that?
Sarah said in the chat, I'm sure she's talking about this. It's a tough question talking about how do you recast these characters? Because for me personally, if there's one thing DC's done really, really well, and Marvel's done a good job with it too, it's casting characters. Like now, when I see these actors in other movies, I see them as this. Like I just watched the end of Gray Man the other day, and I can't help but see Captain America as Captain America. What did I watched?
I don't know. That
Something
was a
else
really
the other
good role
night.
for him. I really had
Yeah.
fun with that.
I watched something else the other day, and I saw a character, and I was like, I just can't see him as anything other than this. That's just all there is to it, because that's what he started out as in my mind as this. So,
Well,
and we get these kind of characters, and I think that's why Marvel is doing a good job of waiting to start with mutants, because you've got to separate Wolverine. Like there's no way you can have anybody else play Wolverine right now because Hugh Jackman did such a phenomenal job. He embodied that character, like
I always
that is
thought
Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman was
And
too small, and the stuff that he put himself through to become Wolverine was
look
like
from 1 to 2.
killed
Yeah,
him.
it's amazing. From one,
Yeah.
well, I wouldn't say killed him. I'd say he's a pretty healthy guy. I mean,
He hated it. Talking about like everything that he ever said was like, I don't know if I can keep doing it just for that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Once again, I'm not in that position. I feel like I could, but people are different. I'm just not in that position. I've never done that, so I couldn't say I would. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm ready to see some new characters cast, and I'm ready for a full separation. And it sucks, man. It sucks to say that because I love this universe so much, but I know that I'm never going to get it back. I know that I'm never going to see Zack Snyder Justice League or the Zack Snyder universe ever again in any kind of way. Because Warner Brothers is even saying now they regret letting it out, which I don't know why they regret letting it out. They didn't release the numbers on it, but it didn't cost them a ton of money to release it.
Yeah.
If anything at all. If anything, it brought attention to the streaming service and to the platform. But I think they have this ultimate hatred with Zack Snyder, to be truly honest with you. And I hate saying it, but it feels like it's almost like a bias against him.
Well, I think it's a structural problem. It's institutional.
Yeah.
They have a poorly ran institution, and until they're able to get their house in order, no one's going to be good enough for anybody. So, like you said, they did a great job with the actors. I completely am on board and agree with that. You look at all the little things that we have. I mean, I think Doctor Strange was a prime example. I mean, how many people clamored over Krasinski playing
Fantastic. Yep.
just for the little bit that he was, and they're like, oh no, they're just doing it for a universe. Like it's not that big of a deal. And then everyone's like, oh no, you have to have him now. Like you don't have a choice. Like you showed it. Like you put him in a costume. We need to see that. The same thing. Yeah,
it's true.
Same thing.
It is true. I'm gonna be a little pissed off.
Yeah, they did so many good things there, and I don't know. Like it's, we just have to see what comes of it. I wasn't trying to reignite the whole conversation on DC, but
the thing Marvel's been doing, you can introduce other actors as certain characters because of the multiverse.
Yeah.
DC doesn't have that.
Well, if they ever got their Flash straightened out, it's possible.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll never get that straightened out. It's like a lightning bolt. Hey, so Rick in the chat says that Amber Midthunder from Prey, he mentions we're talking about Wonder Woman castings. Actually, I think that's a phenomenal call. She's a little young looking. Like, I'm not sure what her age is, but I could see her playing that role pretty well. To be truly honest with you.
I want to see Wonder Woman. I want to be wowed by Wonder Woman. Like,
Okay.
I don't need a manly woman. I'm like, I want a woman. You know, like I want like someone who looks like they're gonna come out and kick ass.
Okay.
I want Amazon.
Yeah.
Like I said, not name. I want Amazon. I want
Yeah.
somebody like I want to like really believe it.
You know, there's like I've always been a big fan of like Gwendolyn Christie, but I mean, like you definitely like she doesn't carry herself in the same way that I would imagine like a Wonder Woman would, right? So still like someone of like that stature, someone who just seems like they're, you know, like they're gonna be your mommy, you know, like for real.
What's the old girl that played on Mandalorian that got Gina Carano?
Yeah.
That's
No, I don't.
She's
I
a
don't
woman
see
that'll
it.
kick your ass like very
Well, I mean, she
easily.
would kick your ass, but she's more like a street thug. I mean, I don't think she's got the same. Like, she doesn't bring like the godliness side of the character, and like just for me.
I hear that.
So, but moving on, what is working for DC is that because no one else is probably watching it, the Harley Quinn show is fantastic. They got a new season.
Today on my things to watch, so I might actually start checking it out. Yeah,
they just did an episode with going into Batman's head, and it was the Bruce Wayne, Martha Thomas Wayne scenario. It was just running around in like a constant loop, and it was actually really funny. And I hate to say that because I mean, you know, no one wants to watch their parents get shot in an alley multiple times, but we lived with that story for so long now that
we've seen it a bunch.
I can call it funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. HBO also re-upped House of Dragons for the second season after the first episode or something like that.
You knew that was coming though, right?
Yeah, and they lost a showrunner.
Yeah.
They lost a showrunner, and I think that showrunner could possibly be going to create another Game of Thrones show. So we'll see what else comes out. Well, it's been rumored the whole was it Jon Snow show?
Yeah, but is that going to the well too many times? Like, is it flying too close to the sun?
Oh no! R.R. Martin said that he wanted to create a whole entire universe out of this deal. Like, he wants to have like an MCU verse up in his GOT.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I didn't watch Game of Thrones, and I'm loving House of the Dragon, but
yeah,
I just feel like sometimes maybe people step
whatever's going on
too quickly.
Here with you guys not watching Game of Thrones, you got to get into it, man.
Yeah, I do. Nathan told me today, he's like, dude, you got to watch it. I said, yeah, I know I need to, but
it'll suck your life in. You miss. I mean, like, it's one of those things. Like, almost like during the summer, you really have to binge. But I guess wintertime's cool too. You're gonna be indoors a little bit more.
Yeah, more than likely. When it starts to get dark at like 5 o'clock, yeah, I'll be indoors a lot more. So.
After the Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
10 says, fuck Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings is out.
No, we haven't talked Lord of the Rings show yet, or House of the Ring of Power yet, but we're going to. So hang out with us because we're definitely going to. So, well, do you want to go ahead and hop in the shows, or anything else you wanted to talk about?
No. Jason Bateman's coming out with a new show on Netflix since Ozarks is over with. He's still doing things.
I'll watch it.
And then
Bateman, I'll watch it. It's anything he's on or puts out is good. So.
Yeah, the only other thing is, that was the old news of Matt Shakman leaving the Star Trek movie, going to the Fantastic Four movie. So we'll see. He was a real big runner on WandaVision, which I mean, like, I love WandaVision, so I don't know, like it. I'm for it. We'll see, but we can do shows. Let's roll into it.
Let's do it. Do you want to start out with Lower Decks? Look, so my internet has been real finicky lately. Probably not. I don't have actually any internet access itself. I've been using my mobile connection, but for some reason, my phone, when I got home, when I was starting to watch the last little bit of House of the Dragons, it kept cutting in and out. It was spotty, and I was just irritated watching it, so I stopped. didn't get the Lower Decks, but these guys did.
Yeah, we did.
It's a great show, and I do hate that I missed it because I wanted to watch Lower Decks. It was just the shortest of the shows, other than maybe She-Hulk that we were watching this week. So I was like, well, I'll save that one for last. But I hate that I did that. But y'all go ahead and talk about Lower Decks. I'm gonna step off real quick. Check on kids.
It made my week. Yeah, so let me preface this by saying a little bit. I know, Ross, you and I kind of texted a little bit over this after I just watched it. I guess what was the vibe what was your initial vibe you got off of it?
Oh, right off the bat, D&D with I was sitting there watching it with the Klingon, and I'm like, wait a second. They're playing a tabletop game.
Yes. And that's what's so funny too, because my son, he's actually started playing that. So I'm just like, oh. So I'm like, that's interesting. So, but D&D with Klingons, I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. And that was Martok. That was the voice of Martok. And I was like, oh my gosh. That's why I love sliding in these voices. You're like, it's the real voices, but then maybe, there's waiting for that, live action kind of little slide they're going to do at some point too. So
they're getting their notoriety. I mean, like now that they're on their third season and like their ratings are actually, they're seem to be doing pretty dang good. They're definitely being allowed. Like, look what they did last episode, bringing in all those first contact callbacks. I mean, like there's no reason not to have fun, and they are having fun.
And that's what's so great about this one, because it's just so lighthearted. It's like I said, you're kind of diving into like the underbelly in essence, and it's just like, but like I said, bold Boimler, that just made my day. Like you were saying, it's like you had like with the prey vibes too. Mm-hmm. It's like with the I cannot remember the species, but Boimler's like, yeah, I'm not going to say no, because Tendy's like, well, just in case, you
might want to say no. No.
Well, first of all, she's like, just say yes. It's fine. You always say no. You never know what's going to happen. It's because apparently that one fella, he's like, oh, he's the captain of a ship now. How in the hell did that happen? Because he never said no. Okay, well, yeah. And then for Tendy to say, you might want to rethink that just a minute. No. Bold Boimler. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, and you get a spear through your shoulder, but it's all good. It's all good.
I love the moment that he put his balls on his shoulders. He got speared. It was so perfect. I mean, it's so Boimler. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like from previous episode, have all these girls throwing themselves at them. He's just like, you don't know the difference between this grape and this grape to make this raisin. I'm like, dude, seriously? Okay, all right. Like, hello, McFly. But yeah, this episode, it was just super fun, and it was, especially with Beckett, and oh God, I can't remember his name, the first officer. It's Jerry O'Connell's character, yeah. But anyways, yeah, I know. It's like it just, but having him working with her, and he's just so damn hard-headed because he takes the two engineers, Rutherford and the other fellow, which I remember hearing from the other season too. God, he was a mess. But it's like, oh yeah, they'll be the diplomats for this particular race. They're almost like Risons. I mean, Risa, that kind of thing. So I'm like, okay. And then it's like, oh, we're not showing our belly button. Oh God. I'm like, okay. And then you have dude, he's like, I got this, and Beckett's, she just knows it's just going to be a straight mess. She's like, I don't know what you're trying to prove. I just don't know what's going to happen. But the fact that she like disobeyed and was about to, handle that, and then it's like, oh God, let me see if I can get back up there. But when she saw those stairs, how many times have you said that when you saw that many stairs?
Yep.
So it's just the realism. It's like the situations they get themselves in, even though it just seems over the top. You're like, this is real life. This is absolutely real life right here. And I think
they do it all backwards.
Hilarious. Yeah.
The funny part is that when in an animated show, like you can do it all backwards. You can, you can send the engineers to the wrong place. You can turn it into a whole episode. You can make abs save the day, And
absolutely.
It's just amazing that they fit all that into 20 some minutes, and like you're just laughing.
Yeah.
You're just laughing throughout the whole entire thing. So
but then, like I said, it's like when they throw all those Easter eggs and everything in there to where it's not necessarily, but it just reflects a lot of like the old versions. It's just, I just love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. It just it makes my week because I'm like, it's going to be something outlandish. It's going to be crazy. Beckett's going to yell at somebody saying something stupid. Boimler's going to be like, Boimler's going to Boimler. I mean, it's what it is.
Boimler's gonna Boimler. Nice. No, that works.
But yeah, I just love the fact that they're just like Klingons. I just haven't seen Klingons in so long. Especially
I don't even know how many like episodes there actually is gonna be.
It's
we got Cody.
8 on it. Hey, Cody.
Hey, what's up? Oh, now Greg disappeared. What the
We're
heck?
just sitting here talking a little Star Trek.
That's gonna happen tonight.
No
Greg's
problem.
gonna be in and out.
No, that's fine, dude. Hey, don't let me rush you, man. Y'all go about however y'all were doing it.
Damn, is the free for all over already?
Yeah, it's 9:37.
Oh wow, yeah, that's true. I guess you got to do start at 7. I think about it. So. Okay.
So we're
Hey,
damn.
Cody, I'm mad. I can't. I'm mad at the Panthers right now. I'm mad at them.
Oh, your boy.
Yes.
Your boy. Oh,
what are you gonna do with that jersey?
I'm gonna wear it.
Okay.
I
think I'm gonna buy my Baker jersey tonight, y'all.
I love the seriousness in your face. I'm gonna wear it.
Because I mean,
I'm gonna wear it.
I'm not talking to the Panthers right now. I can't talk to them right now.
That's not me on the main chat. I don't know who's.
That's
who's
me
talking.
on the main chat, but Ross is posting everything. Yeah,
there you go.
Ross, you got anything else to say about Lord X?
I mean, all that I can say is I'm assuming it's gonna be 10 episodes, like the last few seasons have been, and to be on episode 2 of just loving it being back, dude, like with all of the things that we watch, the things that I watch that are animated, like I love them. Like I'm just in love with Lower Decks, Harley Quinn. How can I not be? They're just absolutely hilarious, and people love Star Trek. Like it's nothing but humor. So totally with it. And after that, I don't even know where we are. We gonna rip the She-Hulk Band-Aid off?
Yeah, let's go ahead and knock out. But Cody, do you care if we go ahead and knock out She-Hulk and then we'll talk about? Yeah. Well, so let's go ahead and do that, man. Because the thing is, She-Hulk is such a short episode. They're I think this episode minus the intro and the credits was like 23 minutes long. Like they're not very long episodes, and it's one of the things that is kind of irritating me with this show. Like I like this show, but I'm starting to kind of fall off this show a little bit. It's not keeping my attention. It's not really keeping me really into it. The only thing that's keeping me into it is the connection to the MCU, which is with their terrible fourth wall breaking. What they're trying to say is not what this show is about. Which I don't know if they're saying that jokingly or not, but it's really the only thing keeping me in this show right now. Like, it's still fun, but it tries to be too fun, I think. I don't know. Let's get into the show and talk about this week's, because we're 3 weeks in now, right?
Yep.
Okay, so just my overall thoughts. I like the show going in. Had a problem with the CGI, and I still do. But now the show's starting to wear on me a little bit, just me personally. Do y'all feel the same way about anything? Go ahead, Sarah.
I kind of made this statement to Brian. I'm like, this show to me almost feels like a farce because, you've got, and I don't want to like take anything away because it is She-Hulk. But my thing is, we've kind of gone through the whole story with Bruce and Hulk and that kind of thing, but it just seems like it's just so surface level. And it's like they're trying to create. I don't
very
know.
Contrived, right?
Yes, it's
Yes.
like okay, well, I'm a Hulk now. Okay, well, I just want to. First of all, I had an issue with Bruce trying to push on her, saying, "Oh, you've got to be a superhero." She's like, "Why do I have to be a superhero?" And now it's like, it's still just weird for me for her to be walking through the office as She-Hulk. Which I get Gage had to explain. I'm like, why? This is stupid. He's like, well, because she got hired, her boss wants her to have that that persona. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But to me, it's just still weird. It's just, I don't know. It just feels weird to me. But like I said, it might just be just I don't know, because you have like such, Jennifer's such a firecracker, but she's like such a small package. But then again, then you have She-Hulk when I'm like, it's just her, but she's She-Hulk.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I mean, it's like they're trying to combine two different worlds, and for me, it's just weird. I'm trying my best, but there's just something. It doesn't seem like it gels.
Can I be honest? The way I feel about it after watching this episode is I feel like this episode was mainly just the trial we knew was going to happen based on last week.
Yeah.
And we knew what the results were going to be. I almost feel like you could end this show right now and just introduce She-Hulk into the MCU movieverse, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, like truly, I just don't feel like I need to know any more about She-Hulk to have her be a part of this world that I already know she's going to be part of, and I'm fine with, because I like the character. I just don't like, what else are you going to do? I've seen no villain so far, no big problem come up so far beyond social issues.
Yeah.
And I've seen nothing that like makes me believe she can't hold her own. So like, just put her in a movie and let's be done with it. It's kind of the way I feel right now, which sucks because I started out really liking the show, but it's kind of fading on me.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like he's trying too hard.
This show's going to be 9 episodes.
So we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. But I hope they kind of give it a little bit more meat, because right now I don't feel like it's very meaty.
Here's the thing. The first episode wasn't supposed to be the first episode. The whole background, like figuring out how she became She-Hulk, the training and anything else. I mean, like, they didn't have any of that planned. They ended up cutting it all together and putting it into the first episode. That's why the first episode's longer. And then bits of that was supposed to be throughout the actual rest of the other episodes.
Okay.
And so what you got was, like from what I remember, we all talked pretty highly about the first episode. The
first episode was fine, but for me, I just feel like it's not really progressing of like a story. It's almost like, okay, I don't know. It's just something. I need a twist. I need something that dives a little deeper underneath the surface.
And we're 3 episodes in. Maybe we'll get that soon.
And that's what I'm hoping.
You know?
And see, I see a villain, and I see what's happening, and I see the little things, and I'm holding on to them, like, not for dear life, but like I'm holding on to them to like unfold. Because I mean, like, if there's anything that I learned, like we said towards the top of this episode, if you don't let things happen, it's tough to talk about them week to week in a positive manner, because everyone sees the things that they don't like and doesn't like raise up the things that they do like. Not saying that we're not doing that. All that I'm saying is, like, when 9 episodes are done, you are probably going to be singing a different tune. And I don't mean that you're going to be praising the shit out of it. All I'm saying is that you'd be like, it wasn't bad. Like they did okay with She-Hulk. Like, in an opening with 9 episodes.
That's the best ones. In my opinion, that's the best ones, because usually the ones that I like have issues with, like the first, like, let's say the first quarter or first third of it.
Yeah.
Then, like, give me a little bit more of the story. I think that's the problem I have right now. I'm story starved.
Marvel is shotgunning things at us, and like, what we don't understand is that they are already we're still watching stuff that was shot in the COVID era.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how like old this stuff is. And so what we're coming into now is like, they're making all these shows way off in the future that probably not going to be released for another 2 years or something at this point. We have talked about Hawkeye. We have talked about, everyone was on board for Loki. But I just feel like what we're at right now is, we're on the 3rd episode. The last 2 told a story they probably could have told in 1 episode. And I would have been probably much happier with it. I love seeing Wong. Mm-hmm. I love the way they introduced him.
He was going to be there at some point.
Yeah. I loved what they ended up doing with, even I can't remember the actress's name, but the paralegal, she's like, I set a thirst trap, took a picture with some books. And all the little things, just the language and the humor is just funny from like spot to spot to spot to spot, but it can be too much if there's not more in it. Like if there's not more of like a underlying story.
I will say this: one of the part I did really enjoy is when they pretty much, I guess the guy that was in her previous law firm,
Mm-hmm.
about how stupid he was and like just how gullible and that thing. And then it was just tear my nerves up. The attorney that was representing him, I'm like, I know this guy. I know this guy from somewhere.
Yes, you do. Where is he from?
That is Adrian Chase from
Yes,
Arrow.
it is. Yes, it
That was
is.
tearing
100%.
my nerves up. I was
I
like, I know this guy. And I'm bad about sometimes saying, is it, or isn't it? So I'm not gonna lie, I had to look it up because it was just tearing my nerves up.
And he's almost the same character too. Like he almost plays the exact same character with like his acting. But okay, it's funny you bring that point up though. Like we'll go and start breaking the episode down because there's only a few points I want to bring up, and then we'll see what y'all want to talk about. But like that point specifically right there is one thing I want to bring up. Like they make this character out. The guy's name, I wrote it down. Dikowski.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dennis.
The
Yeah.
guy's name. Okay.
Yeah.
They make him out to be a total dick, jerk, womanizer, the whole thing. And I get it. There are some guys like that. This show didn't make me upset because it didn't portray every guy like that.
Mm-mm.
Okay. But what irritates me in this episode specifically, and it doesn't irritate me, it's just one thing I'm picking out of it, is like they make it out like for this guy to be so stupid that he didn't know what was going on. Listen, if there is a scroll that looks like Miranda Lambert, that is talking to me, that looks exactly like her, that acts exactly like her, that I can't tell any difference by looking at her right then and there, that is her, I'm going to believe it's her. It does not make me stupid. Okay?
She ain't gonna ask you for a Volkswagen Passat, bro.
No, I get that. You're right. I get that. And that's the point they put in. But it's just
But
like
it's just not that. It's just the fact this guy is just so
and they make him out to be a moron. And I get that. And I'm glad they don't make every man in this show to be out that. If they made every man in the show to be like that, I would be pissed. But they're not. They're making a point, and I get their point because there are men like that in the world.
But
I'm just
Zero
glad they
problem
don't
buying
beat you
that.
over the head with it and make every man like that.
Zero.
But is it a foil for Jennifer's character to kind of reiterate how difficult it is for her to do what she does, and now that she's a She-Hulk, it makes it that much more difficult?
Yep.
Because yes, you do have, I hate to say it, men and women both. They're in their own little world, thinking they're just, God's
Right.
creation, that kind of thing. And I think that's what it was kind of, because it seems like this whole episode, unless the fact it was, even though Jennifer is realized, she was like, okay, I'm She-Hulk. I am a Hulk. Okay, I can deal with this. But yet she thinks that once she gets over this big case, that her life is going to go back to normal.
Right.
No. Sorry, lady. That ship has absolutely sailed.
Can I ask a question about this Marvel Universe thing? Like, do you feel like these shows are more agenda-driven now than ever before? Like, you guys are talking about, Greg just said just put it in a movie and move on. But you also kind of said, like, there really hasn't even been a lot of, like, superhero stuff. And again, she is a lawyer. Yeah, and I've only seen episode 1, so I'm not like, but I kind of feel like I'm hearing from you guys what I've been feeling a lot when it comes to Marvel is that as these shows continue on, I feel like the only reason that I'm watching them is to have a grasp of what is going to happen in the MCU movies that I do want to see, that I do care about. Like, I still haven't. Yeah, I still haven't watched the Miss Marvel stuff. Some people said it was great, but it's like I might only know her as the chick from the Doctor Strange movie, So I don't know. Do you feel like Disney's like going too far to like pander to different audiences? Like they've lost sight of why people are even fans of this stuff to begin with?
No.
I can tell Ross wants to say something,
No.
so go ahead, Ross.
All right. I'm a broad picture. What they created with the Infinity Saga was legendary.
Sure.
We have lived through that. It's going to evolve. They're going to find different ways to tell stories.
Yeah.
The next thing that is most important to follow is the fact that just Greg, you sent the picture in the chat. I told you, I was like, I saw that. I thought that was wonderful. At that point in time, it was 48 hours in phase 4 versus, was it less than 12 in phase 1? So the amount of content that you're getting is like bar none above and beyond what they even thought that they were going to be capable of producing.
Mm-hmm.
And not just that, now they're telling stories on different platforms, now television. And they're doing so in a manner that is going, like, it's, they're putting so much out, there's a lot more that people aren't going to be happy with. I'm going to tell you right now, I eat it all up. Greg says it all the time. It's pizza. I'm here for it. I'm going to eat it. Why? Because in the day when the story's done, I'm perfectly happy with what I saw. I recommend to most people that when they watch this stuff, if you have a problem with what's going on, wait till the whole thing comes out. Watch it, binge it all. Like this right here, these are 30-minute episodes. This whole entire thing would be a really long movie if you sat down and watched it at the end.
Well, see, I'm to the
You
point
don't
now.
have
I enjoy the streaming more so than I do the movies now.
Yeah.
Because there is produced just as fantastic, and like you said, it's like you can either watch it. I know, you know, me obviously I watch it week to week. I know I've got some friends of mine that they wait till everything's out and then they binge it all at one time.
Yeah.
But I mean,
we got spoiled. We got spoiled on the Avengers movies. I'm going to tell you that here and right now, because what they did, they cannot reproduce. They're going to find ways to do it. But what they're doing right now is giving us a whole lot more content. And that's what they want to do because they have a whole entire
universe, multiverse,
3-mile long Swiss Army knife of tools that they can pull out. And it's just never ending. So
that need to be kind of dug into the damn sandbox. Like,
yeah, you're going to get a lot more from this. And at the end of the day, you can not like a whole lot of things. That's on you. That's on me. That's on whoever makes that decision.
But to Cody's point, I think what he's saying is like, you know, for the longest time, for over 10 years, it was this certain story. Now they're able to bring in more. So, you know, you might have something that has like more diverse. You know, you might be bringing in more women. You might be bringing in, more, minorities or whatnot. So, I mean, but there's like a ton of characters out there that are not in this particular, I don't say one mold that we're so used to from the MCU.
It's comic book.
Yeah, exactly.
Cody, do you buy comic books?
Oh yeah, I mean, I need to find a store to like get them like I used to.
That right there.
Yeah,
that's it.
I used to get them all.
The Infinity Saga was a story. That was
Yeah.
one comic book that we all subscribed to. Guess what's happening right now?
there. Yep.
All the lines are coming out.
Yep.
And not they all fall under the same tree and the same branch. But it's a whole lot bigger of a tree now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All ice cream, different flavors.
Oh yeah. Baskin Robbins always finds out.
Yes.
Okay, so let me talk about one thing here. We'll get back to the episode here. Just breaking down this episode, I'm going to go down a few things that I didn't like or that I'm not liking about this so far. I don't like the fourth wall breaking. I don't think it's done well. I think they're trying to copy Deadpool. And I know that the actress who plays She-Hulk was a comedian. Or is a comedian. I'll say is a comedian. It's like when I see this fourth wall breaking stuff, it just doesn't land for me. Like I'm like,
does it kind of take you out of it?
Yeah, a little bit. It's like, okay, cool. You just recognize that what I already know, and I get that, but okay. Like it's just not working for me, and I don't like the fourth wall stuff. Is it not working for y'all, or is it messing with y'all?
Stops. She's driving, then she just turns. I'm like,
hands off the wheel. Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, it's a different story to like turn and look at me, but don't drive and then just stop and turn. I'm like, what are you doing? That was kind of an odd choice.
I'm not going to say that it takes me out of it, but I'm going to say that it's not like it's new to the MCU, and I think they could do a little bit better than what they're doing. The driving thing was a prime example. When she took her hands off the wheel, I'm like, I mean, now you're not only like you were already calling it out. You didn't have to like make it feel like you were just done with everything the action that you were doing at that point in time.
Like to stop. It's like freeze frame. Yeah. Okay, here.
Right.
I think if it was a little more subtly done instead of like just so blatant, it might kind of gel a little bit or blend a little bit better. I don't know. It just seems like it just.
But when she stuck her head in at the end, she's like, "Oh, connecting the A and B plot," and then she like got right back out of it. I'm like, that was like just enough. Like I didn't really need that, but it was enough.
Yeah.
Can I be vulnerable? What's the name of the girl in this show? Something the Stallion.
Megan the Stallion.
Megan the Stallion.
Megan the Stallion. I have no idea who that is. Like, I'll be vulnerable. No idea who that is.
Can you let them know?
And I was like, this has to be somebody like real because they're trying to punch into like real world stuff. I have no idea who Megan the Stallion is.
Greg, you don't know about that WAP?
Nope.
You don't know about that WAP?
Don't know nothing about it, man. Nothing at all.
Ray's been married for a long time.
Yeah. So, like, my kids probably know. Like, and that makes me feel old. And I'm sure if I asked my kids, they would know.
He might be right. They might actually know. Yeah, man. She's I just saw the clip on that. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, are they putting stuff in shows to go viral, or to actually like make a good show? Because like, yeah, okay, you can put She-Hulk shaking her ass and do twerking with Meg the Stallion, and now all of Twitter's talking about it, and it's like, yeah, I get it. But like, do any of you think that it served a purpose?
I don't know, but it was beating you over the head about Megan the Stallion. Because I was like, damn, if I heard this lady's name one more time.
When she showed up, I was like, okay, I'm good with that.
I know, right?
I put out a tweet this morning, okay, and I wanted to bring it up tonight because it's a great topic to talk about, and it's healthy conversation to talk about this kind of stuff. Why is the Flash falling on Gal Gadot or falling on Wonder Woman for 1 second of screen time and then getting up because he was embarrassed by doing so, sexually or sexualizing a character? But She-Hulk twerking with Megan the Stallion is not sexualizing a character. It was the question I asked this morning on Twitter. I got a lot of good comments on it, but I want to know y'all's thoughts. Why is one different than the other? Like, why is one director who says fall on her, and that's sexualizing a character, but the other one is twerk and show your ass, and let's actually zoom in on your ass for a whole 2 seconds, okay? And then we're going to zoom out, and that's not sexualizing the character. Just, I don't know how the world works, and I'm trying to figure out how this is going on. So what are y'all's thoughts on that?
I subscribe to the I don't give a fuck side of it. Just to be right off the bat, I don't think the whole Flash and Wonder Woman thing, I'm going to tell you right now, I wasn't in any circle that conversation got brought up, other than listening to like you describe it at some point. I'm not even sure if that was here or if that was you and I talking. At the end of the day,
sure we talked about it, yeah. At
the end of the day, like, I don't care. Yes, does it make a little bit of a difference? And should it? No. If it's like the actor or actress's decision. When a director tells you to do something, you're an actor or an actress. And you get to choose whether or not you feel like that's okay. The problem is that fell into a very specific time that, Me Too movement was already in its own little deal. So every little thing was getting discussed. I don't really care. I don't think that we should have to have these conversations about it, because if you're watching content, you get to turn it off. And if you hold the keys to your kingdom and it's not forced upon you, it doesn't make a bit of difference. You don't like it? Don't watch it.
I love your mindset. It's a great way to look at it.
I don't think it should be discussed. When you made that tweet and you sent it out, I'm like, no, like, just, that's part of the problem. Just don't fuel the fire.
Part of the problem, but talking about it's part of the solution too, I feel, because it is a problem whether you want it to be or not.
Yeah, but
the discussion of it is a problem whether you want it to be or not. So
when we choose not to talk about it,
okay,
that's been on my only beef about the whole entire thing. Like, when you bring it up, that's when it keeps becoming. That's when people follow stupid likes. It's, I mean, that wasn't clickbait, but like it's clickbaity to have people jump on board with that kind of mindset and be like, now all of a sudden we're all going to go riot in the streets. And like, don't riot in the streets. Just turn it off if you don't like it.
That's a
Who
good
gives a
mindset.
shit?
Yeah. I like your thoughts. I'm trying to think, is there anything else about this episode that really bothered me? Beyond that, I don't think so. Well, I'm sorry. Was there anything else anybody wanted to comment on that? I don't know.
Someone brought up in the chat. I'm not going to scroll back up, but the elf. I mean, like that was a nice little twist. It was funny seeing how consequences of, I don't know, bringing Asgardians to Earth like turned out to be a simple court case of a guy out $175,000. I thought it was funny that all these reporters outside of a top super ultra high security prison, like, and then right then and there you got fake news just rolling right off the bat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, can we talk about Abomination?
Yeah.
Number one, he has like his soul. What the hell did he call his ladies? His soul
mates. Yeah, they're soulmates.
His better eights.
Okay, well, and then just going through the whole list of like what he's did, and the thing that kind of got me too was number one, he loved those white Crocs because he took very good care of those white Crocs. So he's like, okay, he's like, I can show you, I can handle the Abomination. He's like, I have absolute total control of it. Which, I mean, is that the theme throughout this as well too? If you have some kind of shit going on other than Bruce, you can handle your shit. He transformed and he bumped his head and was like, oh, and everybody and like the board, they were like freaking the hell out. And I'm thinking, dude, it's like he's right there. I mean, and then he's just like, okay. And then as soon as he put the blanket around him, I'm like, well, he's gonna shrink back down or whatever. And I'm like, what else are you folks gonna? And I just knew they were gonna go after Wong too. I was like, Wong just said what he said, as far as the breaking him out and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like,
the best part was him peacing out. It was perfect for all those memes because it's like, oh, and this week on Wong's Super Surprises, here I am, and bye. They're like, that's illegal. He's like, yeah, you're right. Bye.
Let me get out of here. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I thought that was a big scene, as far as like showing that he could control the Abomination. So
do you believe he's a reformed criminal?
No.
You think he's going to come back and do something bad? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I feel maybe it might in some form or fashion. I don't think it's going to be the point where he destroys a city block or anything like that. But I don't know. It's just that was kind of a hard pill for me to swallow to say that he was like completely reformed. But he may be.
My only beef with the whole entire thing was that Abomination was too much like Korg. He was too much
like a sea monkey.
Well, not the way that he looked, the way that he talked, acted, and like he was just he wasn't aloof, but like he felt like he was jokingly in control like of himself. And I'm like, that's very like Korg, like that's Taika Waititi Korg. I'm like, if that's what they're going for, like it's cool, but not like that's. I don't want to say it's the Abomination to Smart Hulk version, but like there's no explanation. So either I need an explanation or he needs to go on a straight rampage. So I need that.
Was he trying to be more like Klaus from Umbrella Academy? Because that was kind of the vibe I was getting.
I get that kind of vibe too.
But they quoted Kumite. And for anyone else, if there's no Jean-Claude Van Damme Bloodsport fans, the Kumite.
I'm not that deep. Yeah,
Sorry.
Y'all killing me.
The last thing I wanted to bring up is I feel like that they're trying to introduce in this show the Thunderbolts, which is funny because Thunderbolts are a huge part of like the Civil War and everything that happens there, but they're just now introducing, which just shows you a little bit different than comics and movies. There was even a Thunderball reference. One of the guys, Thunderball, at the end, she gets jumped at the end, and they're trying to steal her blood, it looks like, while she's still Jennifer Walters. So the guy's name is Thunderball. The jumpster. It's 4 guys that have Asgardian construction tools. I guess that's what they're saying. What y'all think about this? Is this Ross? You said you saw a villain, and I think that Is it General Ross? I think is the guy we've seen in Marvel all along. I think he's part of the Thunderbolts, and he's the one who heads up the Thunderbolts. Is that the direction we're going with the villain here?
Well, we definitely seem to be going Thunderbolts direction. We knew that this was probably going to roll that just because of the roots that it had. I see the making of villains in this show. I'm not going to say which one's going to be which because, like, I see the look on Emil's face. I see what he's trying to do. I can see how he could play a chess game to turn into something else. Ross is going to have something, but I really don't feel like they're going to tip their hand too heavy on that just yet. But I mean, I don't know.
Be building up for that for a movie. To be honest with you.
Well, I mean, they know like we have a movie coming out, so we know that's happening.
Well, those little fellas have some sort of superpower or something because how does she not break that one spine?
Yeah.
Well, she folded that dude like a lawn chair. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
The actor is dead. Yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah, it was,
2 years ago.
William
Timeline,
Hurt?
I don't know. William Hurt?
Yeah. Yeah, he died last year.
Was last year?
I think it was last year. The first, I think it was last year. It's been within like the last 18 months. I feel like.
I don't know. I know that he was on he was dead man walking. Unfortunately, for a while, like he was hanging on. So yeah. It's. I don't know. We got 6 more episodes. We're gonna see what it's about.
We got a lot more left to go. That's the thing is like I'm definitely not giving up on the show, and I definitely am not saying it's not a good show because it is a good show. It's just that like it's one of these things that like I'm not excited Thursday when it comes out. Like I don't have to see it immediately when it's like I kind of want it to be that show. Like I want that show.
Lower Decks than She-Hulk.
Actually, I've kind of got that show now, but we're going to talk about it here in a minute. But yeah, I just it doesn't give me that vibe. Like I don't know. I felt like Loki was that way for me. I felt like What If, like I wanted to see as much as I could as soon as I could see it. Miss Marvel didn't really have that feeling for me, but it was still I feel like Miss Marvel was a better show than this, to be honest with you. I just don't know, man. It's keeping my attention, and because it's connected to the universe, I want to know what's going on. But I feel like they make it a point in this show to be like, this is not a every week cameo show, but it's exactly what this show is. And maybe that's the joke they were going for.
Yeah,
that was the joke they were going for. But I mean, it's like, okay, like that's my only reason for watching it is just to watch the other characters that are in the universe and how they tie in, type deal. Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. I mean, we got more things to talk about. Let's move.
Hold on, let's move on. Y'all want to do Rings of Power?
All right.
Let's talk about it. Cody, did you finish your episode 2 watch?
Yeah, I did. I finished both 1 and 2.
Ooh. I only got halfway through 2 and my internet cut out on me, but we can talk about 1 through 2. I don't care because I'll figure out a way to watch the second half of episode 2.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite trilogies of movies. I absolutely love this. I was talking to my daughter about it earlier. She was asking me about this series, talking about new stuff to watch. I said, yes, you're going to love it. But I recommended the movies for her because I have them all, the extended cuts on my, digital downloads. I was like, here, check it out. I don't care what critics or what fans say so far. This show has problems. I mean, it has some problems like all shows do. However, they're very minor to me. And it's my first trip back to Middle Earth since The Hobbit. And I wasn't a huge fan of the Hobbit series. So I'm thoroughly enjoying what I've seen so far through 2 episodes. But I know other people are not saying the same thing. So with 3 people on this panel, I want to know, what are y'all's thoughts? And Sarah, I want to start with you. Like, how deep is your love for Lord of the Rings? And how much are you liking the show?
It's been so long since I've seen the trilogy. I mean, it was visually stunning. The story and everything. And one thing I'll say about this series is it opens up, and I still feel like it has a lot of those visuals that kind of pulls you in. Now, for me, it was like I heard a lot of names, and I'm like, it's like My spotty sense went off. I'm like, oh, wait, that's, you know. I was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to piece this together because I mean, literally, it's probably been years since I've seen any of Lord of the Rings. But for me to remember some of that stuff, I mean, you know, obviously it hit hard, or it, you know, dug in a little deep. But it's like I watched the first episode. I'm just like, whoa, there's a lot of shit going on right now. There's a lot going on. I don't know what's going on, but I feel it's you could feel like it was a building. Somebody got to the end of the first, like, okay, you ready for the second one? Because there's no way in hell I can't watch this. So I mean, it draws you in. So I mean, that's just where I'm kind of sitting at right now. I mean, like I said, it's been so long since I've seen it. You know, I'm trying to get back into that frame. You know, especially knowing like all the different, at least I could pick out, you know, certain, you know, elves, dwarves, and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of, I'm easing back into it. So, but the visuals are still pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. I don't, it's going to take a lot for me to get immersed as like the movies immersed you, but it's not too far from there. Let's put it that way. Because yeah, I remember it's like when I first saw it, you know, it's like on the big screen, not, you know, the small screen in the house.
Right.
So that's another thing too. But it's still visually stunning, I feel like.
Well, it's funny because I think I've seen Return of the King probably more than any other movie in my life. It's number 3 on my list of all-time best movies. Like, so just this universe is. I haven't seen that movie in honestly probably a couple of years. Like, I need to rewatch it because it's been so long.
It's been a minute. It has been a long minute since I've seen it.
It's so phenomenal. It's a long watch though. Like all these movies, if you're going to watch them the right way, the extended cuts, they're a long watch. So. Cody, I don't know your thoughts on Lord of the Rings. I know you're a huge Game of Thrones fan, so I feel like Lord of the Rings would be your type, your realm. What are your thoughts just on the original Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and just what you think so far of what's going on with this series?
So it's one of those things I've always been a fan of. I've never been a super fan. Like, I'm a super fan of A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm not really that way with Lord of the Rings. And I don't really have a particular reason either. It's not like, you know, there's something about it that I don't like. I'll say this though, like the fact that they're spending $1 billion to make this show, to me, this is like a crossover. And I think, you know, you guys have kind of alluded to it. And I think I've said it on this show before. I prefer TV shows as a storytelling medium more than I do movies now. Just because of your ability to tell a long form story, you know, instead of a 2.5 hour movie that you have to fill a ton of content with and you have to cut stuff and rush it. Like now, when you have an hour and 5 minutes an episode and $1 billion that you spent across the total show, it's like this is the next level of cinema, and it's a television show. So I think it's like a benchmark to kind of call it that. So the only names that I can remember are Galadriel and Sauron, and dude, that's it. Like I don't. There's so many characters. There's so many things going on. I'm not very well versed in the Lord of the Rings mythology, so when you first watch it, it is kind of daunting because it does put a lot on you, but I feel like unlike Game of Thrones, this is a fantasy that is very much for all ages. So you could be a teenager or an adult, and you're watching this fantastic fantasy tale, you know, and I think it has a lot of value in that way. It's absolutely gorgeous. One of the most beautiful shows that I've ever seen, and that's just 2 episodes in. I like the characters so far. I like the direction that it's moving. Yeah, I just hope to get some meat on the bones of the characters. You know, like you know, a lot of I want to know what makes them tick more. You know, are they one note? Are they just gonna play the hero stereotype of the badass shit elf that has destined, you know, to save the world or whatever? You know, I want to see them do some different things that aren't, you know, unique to fantasy. You know, kind of innovate a little bit. But so far, I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely on board. I'm watching every episode that's gonna come out.
Could you? That $1 billion well spent, right?
Yeah, man. I mean,
Dude.
Well, Ross, what do you think, man? I know you're with me. You're a big Lord of the Rings guy, right?
Not massive, but like I know well enough to get me along. We've like watched the first disc of the first Fellowship of the Ring like countless times, like, and then like fallen asleep many of times trying to just get through that one movie, but not out of like its own merit. I want to say a couple things first. Number one, can't believe it's the most expensive thing ever produced show wise. Like, that's just ridiculous. The
It
money
is.
they're
It's
throwing at
crazy.
this is ridiculous. And not only that, Amazon now is going to have the second most expensive show ever produced, and it's going to be a Russo brothers thing. So, I mean,
I mean,
Amazon,
when Bezos is your head guy, like,
yeah,
the limit is the sky's the limit, you know?
and your
Money-
streaming service
Money, what's
is
that? It's
like
know,
free. But what Cody was saying, how he's interested in seeing how things are going to like evolve. I only find the irony because Cody knows so much about the Ice and Fire, like everything, like the whole Game of Thrones spin, because like you're invested in it with the books,
Yeah.
and just like Tin was saying in the chat, like if you don't know the books, it's going to take you a minute because
Yeah.
everything does. And what I love about doing this show is that we always have different speeds of how things are actually happening in our own brains. I love talking about the crap. That's why we always do this, right?
Yeah.
What is the thing that hooked me right off the bat with this show was getting reacclimated to a space that I know enough about, but I don't know enough about the timeline. Same thing with House of the Dragon. It's just enough to kind of get your feet wet to start off with. You're sitting there, and the next thing you know, you're like hooked. Hook, line, and sinker. Like, you're like, okay, I'm totally in. By the end of this first episode, Sarah was talking about me before the show started. I was like, no, now I'm watching the second one. And I stayed up way too late last night to watch the second one.
Yeah.
And mainly because I knew the gist of what this show was going to do. I'm getting it in the first episode. Like, they're telling me enough that I'm going to see what's happening. The names are being dropped. I'm sitting there on my phone with IMDb, like, okay, who's who, what's what, faces. We did the same thing with Dune when we were talking about Dune. Who played in the 84 version versus who played in the 2020 version. And so now what I really enjoy seeing is what they're doing. The Kate Blanchett character, how much does that tie back? Does it look like her? Like, what, like the mannerisms? Now my brain's going back to like, how was she in the other movies? And I'm like, the whole time I'm just sitting there like synapses firing like crazy, and I was having a great time with it. I'm here for it. I'm going to watch every last little bit of it. It's 9 episodes, I think, if I'm correct, but
I'm not sure. Yeah. This is one of those ones that I haven't looked anything into. I knew Amazon Prime was doing it. I knew I loved Lord of the Rings, so I was waiting till it came out to see anything. And honestly, the Elrond drop was huge for me. Like I didn't know how far back they were going. I don't know how old this guy is. I haven't read a lot of the books, but knowing that, and I was like, oh, when I heard that name, I was like, sweet. So I had to go online, and of course, IMDb looked it up and then find things out. So it's Cody. It's funny you say those two. You said 2 names you recognize, and I couldn't believe the third one wasn't Elrond, because you remember Mr. Smith and in Matrix, the guy he played in Lord of the Rings. That's the young guy in this show.
Wait, say that whole thing again?
The guy who played Mr. Smith in the Matrix. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
His character in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
Is the young Elrond in this movie, in this show.
Is that the guy that's breaking the stones with the
dwarves?
Yes.
That dude? Okay, so that's the younger version.
That's a young him, yes.
Okay, I have another question. I don't know if this is too far ahead or not. Like, I don't want to jump around too much. But and you might already know. Kevin's already like put it in the chat.
Chasing squirrels. You're fine. Go.
Okay, that was a Gandalf, right? Right. The wizard at the end that slams into the Earth and shit. That's a Gandalf, right?
I didn't know enough about it, and my brain was like, "Is it? Could it? Will it be?" And then,
And
I
now
mean,
these guys in
in
chat
the
talking about it could be Sauron.
Yeah,
exactly,
like
That to me
Tizzy
makes more
says the
sense than
timeline
Gandalf.
doesn't line up. I'm not as good with the timeline. He says the timeline doesn't line up. That'd be
right.
Gandalf.
But one of the things that I'm learning is that the elves are like 1,000,000 years old. Like
Yeah.
they're like really really old. So I'm like, okay, if the elves can do it,
Okay,
surely a
somebody-
wizard can do it too.
I need to know this. Where the hell
Yeah.
did that boat go?
Valhalla, baby. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
another
No,
thing.
That-
no, more
She's
important.
like,
She took
I gotta
flight.
go.
Bro, they
How
went
far
to
back did she have to
Jesus or
swim?
something. That's
Dude.
another. Okay, dude. Like, isn't the Thundering Sea supposed to be like massive? Like, dude, and she's like, all right, fuck it, I'm swimming, dude. All right.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, the balls on her explains to me so much about like why she was the way that she was in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It just said something about we see her climbing a wall with pokey toe shoes, and
That sold me right there.
I'm like,
ice and picks
and she's leaning forward, and everyone else is like, we should camp, and she's like, no. We're going that way. I mean, I don't know. Like, she's a badass, dude. I mean, like, if she wasn't so pale white, she could be my Wonder Woman.
I have one thing I want to ask here in the chat, and Tin sounds like he knows a lot about Lord of the Rings here. He's talking about the Second Age during the power, the coming of the rings to power, or during the coming of the rings to power, which is what we're going through right now, I'm assuming. He doesn't show up to the Third Age. I'm assuming he's talking about Gandalf, because he said that earlier in the chat. Do you mean Gandalf the White doesn't show up to the Third Age, or Gandalf the Gray doesn't show up to the Third Age? Because I know, like, I don't know how long he was, like, I don't know the books. I don't know how long he was Gandalf the Gray before he became Gandalf the White.
I would assume
You
Gandalf,
know?
period.
Or became, Gandalf, period. Yeah, it's a good point.
I don't
So,
know, because saying about Sauron though, it's like the fact of like a fiery meteor that crashed and all this fire and shit. That I don't know. Maybe that's just putting two and two together in my brain. I don't know. But I mean, initially I was thinking it was Gandalf.
Same.
I think it's meant to be misdirection. I mean, like, I believe
And
the
that could be that
listing with
too.
the stranger, or the
And the little folk that found them, they were called what?
Hobbits, right?
They
They're
were
not
hobbits.
Warfoot,
They're actually
or something like that, right?
They are the precursor.
Precursor to the hobbits because they had hobbit
Yeah.
feet. Not quite as big, but they had hobbit feet.
So I didn't
Yeah.
even know that. Like, I just assumed that they were hobbits. Like,
Well, so
I heard that they said Greenfoot or something, but I'm like, oh, that's like a clan of the hobbits or whatever. You know, like that's just one of them. That's a pack of hobbits or something. Like I don't know, dude. Like, that's what I'm
Pack of
saying.
hobbits. They're wild animals. They're coming after your third breakfasts.
A wild pack of hobbits coming for me.
Well, because they were very, I was asking Brian, I was like, they're very reminiscent of, Merry and Pippin. I'm like, is this Merry and Pippin, or is this Frodo and Samwise, or is this what's going on here? Because they were very like, I think it was more Merry and Pippin-ish. So I don't know, but I'm just so glad they brought like a lot of the fantastical creatures. Because, like, we're showing that one, you see the trees walking. I'm thinking, oh man, that's kind of
The
crazy.
Snow Troll. I'm glad they
that
brought
was-
Snow Troll in there.
That was kind of savage.
Yeah, Snow Troll was badass. But it just showed how, what's her name?
Galadriel.
Galadriel, yeah, it was badass too. Like, it was messing everybody up except for her. So,
Oh, dude, I want to hit one of them kids with a rock too when they, sank her boat. Even
yeah.
because Claire and Gage are watching at that point too. And they're like, Claire's like, get him. It's like, darn. I got some bloodthirsty kids. So
That was a badass boat, though. I don't care who you
I
were.
know, right?
I mean, that's like origami on fleek. I don't know what you.
It's like,
That shit's ridiculous.
So I'm gonna ask another stupid question, and Tizzy is gonna laugh at me because I don't know shit about shit. But what is an orc, dude? Like, okay,
it's like a zombie.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, are they just mindless evil? Like, are they just
Kind of.
like, so
Yeah,
they don't have a
because
consciousness
you had
or
the
anything?
orcs, which were like the groundlings. Then you had the Uruk-hai that were kind of like the higher up ones.
Right.
Yeah.
The ones that
They're
seem
like
like they
the-
had brains. Yeah.
Yeah, and the orcs they would just go in like a mad
They're the
frenzy.
grunts.
Pawns,
the-
baby.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Pawns.
orcs.
if you go back to Return of the King and you look at it, they're actually, you see them growing them. So like they grow them and like hatch them kind of type deal, or birth them and create them. So
Okay. So basically, if there's
I would
orcs,
describe them as zombies would be the best thing I could describe them as. Zombies that can fight.
like, you know, Galadriel is, you know, going on this journey to find the orcs, and she finds Sauron's symbol, and everybody's like, "Ah, you're tripping. Everything's fine now. Go and be free. You know, go and get on the boat." And
We stopped gang signs years ago.
Yeah, go into the light. You know.
Yeah, but that's some shady shit, though. That was some shadiness.
Yeah,
going on,
and that's kind of
that king knew more than he was saying.
Yeah, I kind of felt that a little bit too. But like when it comes to like Galadriel, she is such, you know, she's on a mission to find the orcs. Is it like under the assumption that wherever there are orcs, there is somebody like a Sauron or Morgoth or whatever that guy's name was that are like summoning them? And that means that evil is back or whatever if someone is summoning orcs?
You're talking about like there's like a Rita character and they're all just like Putty Trooper or whatever those
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, what purpose do the orcs serve? Okay, it says the orcs are like pawns.
Yeah, they're like pawns. It's kind of like their little their army. Like they're just just cavalry, like the first regiment, I guess. Like that's stand in to kind of like just tear shit up.
I mean, they for a pawn though, like they're vicious.
Yeah, they're like wild creatures. I mean, it's like it's just turn them loose and say, "Here you go."
I want to ask the question. All right, so we got the side story of clearly there's elves that know that things are happening, and everyone else is ready to, you know, like jump ship and be done and go back to Elven Valhalla. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. That's all the reason why I'm calling it that.
Dude, that's perfect. Elven Valhalla.
Yeah, at the end of the day, people know what's happening and they're trying to do something with it. But when the human's kid finds the sword hilt, I mean, like, is no one else just like, why?
Honestly, that was kind of my question too. Is like, even with the stuff that's happening, what they're saying is like in the East or whatever it is, like, how do you not like, if the elves are there and you're exploring everywhere, how do you not recognize this is happening?
Yeah.
Well, like my only question is, and I asked this going into the second episode, was Galadriel leaving the warning, the sign that Sauron was waiting for to start his thing? Was it like he knew that he needed her to leave before he started his thing?
Same time.
I'm just saying, yeah, exactly. It happened at the same time. So, like, was he waiting for her to go? And as soon as she left, okay, here's my plan. Like, I don't know.
But then you're asking a question of what happened first. If she would have gone, he would have rocketed in. If she never got on the boat, what would have happened?
Yeah.
But then, how are you going to have a story if you just, you know,
right?
Here I am poking holes. You can't poke holes in that.
But I agree with Ross. Like, I am more interested in like, what are the elves doing? Where were they going? Like, they were getting on the boat. Yeah, but it's like the light.
They're going back to like, because it's like in the very beginning, because you had, you know, when you saw the kids and everything, they were in like this one part of wherever, and then they went to Middle Earth, I guess, to fight the battle, you know, because or whatever, because that's where she lost.
Someone turned the lights off. They went to go turn the lights back on and defeat that person.
So is this when them going back to their homeland across the sea? But I'm like, what is it, like some kind of like shroud?
Like a portal or something?
Kind of like the way Wakanda is, where you can't see it, but you can go through there and just...
Angels sing when the sun shines on their face. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they're elves. Like, they've always been those types of people.
And then the humans weren't so happy about the elves because they're like, scum.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, again, I just don't know a lot about the world, but like, why do the humans hate the elves so bad?
Oh, because everything that happened,
humans,
they felt.
I think they're portrayed to be like Americans. They hate everybody but Americans.
Well, I mean, kind
To be
of.
honest with you, I think that's what they're going for. To be truly honest with you.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
no, it's the not knowing. It's like only having part of the information, right? And so, like, what happened was the battle, and then what happened with the battle, like years have passed, and elves know because many of them still live, whereas the humans have passed on all these stories from time to time to time, and now it's like it's not even like it's like a thing.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
I
that's a good
get
way to
where
explain it.
Casey's coming from in the chat because I'm like him on the Song of Ice and Fire. Like I know where all the show is going, and Ten knows all of where this show is going. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, dude, wait until you see what happens. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And I agree, it is. Like that's what I'm saying. I feel like fantasy is at an all-time high right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at, and I think I was telling you this in our Four Horsemen chat, Greg, but like you have the Sandman, now you have this Rings of Power, House of the Dragon. I'm all here for it, man. I love fantasy stories. I always have. So I mean, I'm along for the ride, man. It's my little, you know, it's nice to have something that I'm not that adept in. Because normally, if it's X-Men or whatever thing I'm into, I'm hardcore into it.
Right.
But I feel like this is a good access point for a lot of people that are looking to see what Lord of the Rings is really all about. You know,
I think it's the perfect time. I think that just enough time has passed, and they are making just enough connections that they can bring on a whole new gang of folks to like really enjoy it.
And even folks who like before were huge fans of it. Like I said, I've seen bad reviews of it. It's so funny how I see it's always the audience score and the critic score is always so opposite. And I don't know which one I can ever trust. Usually it's the audience score that I can trust more. But this one has a horrible audience score. And I just don't see that in the show. Like I'm enjoying what I see, and like I said, I put out a tweet beforehand. Maybe I'm just that guy. I like BVS, I like Man of Steel, I like Green Lantern, I like Zack Snyder Justice League.
I mean, it is.
I like maybe I just like the movies that most people don't like, and
Like.
maybe it's me. You know,
It's good. all I can say is that it's good. All I can say is that I watched 2
I'm
hours
reading
of
the
it.
chat over here because I'm like, y'all, you guys are schooling me over here. I'm like loving this.
well, okay. I wanted to ask: did we get kind of a Star Wars Death Star vibe when Elrond was introduced to? Let me see if I can pronounce his name. Shelley Vermeer. I think it was his name, Shelley Vermeer. Yeah. The guy who's the inventor, and we can tell this is the guy who's going to invent the rings. Like he has something in the works.
Well, you're talking about a forge, creating a forge that
We'll create the forge. I'm sure the forge is what's going to create the rings, right? Like that's what this whole story is about: is the creation of the rings, isn't it?
What you're gonna get is essentially the perfect timing of everything. And so, yes, are they palpitating it with the slow roll? It's quite possible. But then again, all this happened before Palpatine, so chicken or egg. Who tells the better story? And I mean, a lot of people are not going to say Star Wars. So, but then again, everyone's going to tell you to read the books.
Right, and that's another thing. So, like, this isn't based on a written work, correct?
No, well, I think it is, but I think the books created a universe that has an extended universe of books you can read, but the movies were only focused on one part, much like Star Wars.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, there's a whole lore that goes behind this. I mean, if you know anything about the size of these books, then you know that like there's a whole entire thing about
Well,
it.
I know the Silmarillion is like the world book of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. So I didn't know if it was like loosely based off of that, kinda. But I don't know, man. I'm liking the show. I'm on board. I'm here for the ride. I want to see where it goes. Oh, another thing, and I thought about you, Sarah.
Oh God.
Like I love the implied world. So obviously a show is only going to show you where the characters are going.
Uh-huh.
But I love how huge everything is. Like whenever you see where the elves live, whenever you see where the dwarves live, like all of these
Yeah.
massive fantasy cities, they do such a good job of actually showing you the layout. And it feels like this big fucking fantasy world that it's like, oh my god, I would love to be there, you know?
Well, it's just like the ones that I'm just gonna call them hobbits very loosely right now. So when you first see them, you see them when they're raising up, they're creating their little world or their little houses and stuff. I mean, obviously they don't have the doors and stuff into the hills, but that's when I'm like, oh, it's hobbits. But then when you see where the elves live, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking it's like giving me Frozen vibes. I'm like, what is this? Like, it's crazy. But the dwarves, when you walk through that door into that mountain, that was absolutely breathtaking.
That's key. That is something that I was very much like, why couldn't we at least seen like a glimpse, a flashback of something like this is how it used to be? Because that's what I wanted to see. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Why would I not want to see the height of like a society? And I know that the whole point of the Fellowship of the Ring in the beginning, where they, everything was dark and gloomy, and why they had to go do things. But I wanted, you always want to know more, and it was a perfect time for them to not show you. So seeing it here and now, I was really happy about. I was actually really. That was kind of like the magic, like the majestical moment of the show for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, looking at and again, they spent $1 billion. It better look incredible, like it does. Like this is the first show that I'm like, oh yeah, every episode is like a miniature summer blockbuster. They all have that level of production value and feel. I'm into it, man. I'm into it. Me and Tentays are gonna have to fight what's better. Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. It's Game of Thrones, but whatever. He can whatever.
See, that's why you need that mic, 10. You don't even need a mic, man. Throw some headphones in. You can come on.
Yeah, 10 was trying to come on the free for all today, but couldn't find his headbuds or whatever. 10, you gotta upgrade the setup so you can come and talk shit with us, bro.
I'm not on social media either, but I mean, we'll find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
You reach out.
You're doing something
definitely.
Right. I commend all people who have the courage to not be on social media.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like a train wreck. I can't help but look sometimes.
I know, but that's
I can't turn around. I just can't turn away, but I just don't let it get to me.
Sarah, not only can I not help but look, I can't help but to stick my fucking hand into it.
Yes, you do.
You know me, I gotta start some shit because I don't know how not to, But yeah, that's when Twitter gets to be too much because you find yourself fighting over dumb shit for no reason.
I just always end up looking at my phone like,
yeah, what?
For real? What? Okay, you just hit send on that? Okay, all right, whatever. Yeah.
Nah.
Well, I mean, look, we got 7 more episodes of this show. I am down to clown with every single lucky 7 of them. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna talk about every single one of them. Greg Pipe's out. I'm pretty sure he's about done. So, Sarah, I'm gonna give you the opportunity.
Dying. What's that?
We're gonna talk about some House of the Dragon.
I might let you fellas roll with this because.
All right.
Sarah, are you not watching House of the Dragon?
Not. Like I said, I had to come.
Why?
Well, I haven't seen Game of Thrones either. I don't know.
No, Sarah.
Do you know how hard it is for me to even watch a 30-minute episode?
No, I bet. I know you have a family and kids. I'm just saying, if you're gonna watch something, come on. But I steer you wrong.
I know. That's how I ended up watching The Boys. That's how I ended up watching Umbrella Academy.
It's so good. And by the way, you have to have no prior knowledge of Game of Thrones. So if you've never seen an episode, it doesn't matter. You don't need to see even one of them.
All right, fellas. I'm gonna try my best to get because what do you got? What, 2 episodes in?
Yeah.
2 episodes. And you can jump in. Like here's the deal. Same thing I told Greg weeks ago. you can jump straight into this without knowing, and it's even better because sometimes the answer is going to be, well, if you watch Game of Thrones, but at the same time, like you're going to have things from a totally different point of view. And I think that's always fantastic. I mean, it's just Game of Thrones has so much lore in itself, and House of the Dragon is bringing on something new. But
I like to find Brian actually has the Game of Thrones book, so we actually have the book in the house. I don't think either one. He hasn't read it. I think he got.
Well, there's five of them, and they're massive books. But like Lord of the Rings is very heady in a sense. Like there's a lot of world and fantasy and stuff, and there is in Game of Thrones stuff too. But it's also much more salacious. Like there's a lot of sex and politics and violence and all the good stuff. You know what I mean?
That's what keeps you like hooked to it.
Yeah, all the good stuff, Sarah.
Well, I'll try my best to get caught up to speed. That's because we got a long
Sarah,
weekend.
do it for me. You're gonna enjoy it a lot. I promise.
All right, I'll do what I can, fellas. I'll do what I can.
All right. That's all I ask.
I'm gonna jump off so you guys have a fun discussion.
Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on the Twitter at My Lady Kitten. It'll be. I'm on there. I kind of prowl around a little bit, so yeah, I'll usually kind of lick my wounds when it comes to dumb shit Carolina does. But that's that's my opinion. It's all good. But other than that, you fellas have a good evening, and some of you guys I will talk to you later. The other guys, maybe I'll catch you next Friday.
All right.
All right. You
Well, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. And apparently Greg is trying to pull double duty to get back in. But I'm going to go ahead and...
I feel for him.
All right. Right off the bat.
Yeah.
This show did a time jump. You go ahead and talk about where it picks up.
The time jump? Well, in House of the
Dragon? It's like 6 months. Yeah, it's like 6 months.
Yeah. It's been So it has been 6 months since the ending of the first episode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The things that we see that change in this episode are, you the grieving and all that kind of stuff gets out of the way. The first scene that we actually pick up on is, actually, I don't remember the first scene, but the whole story, the whole plot that we pick up on is the king trying to remarry. And what are they trying to do? Push him straight into another Targaryen family situation.
Yeah.
You get the complex angle of the daughter and the queen that never was having their little plot and fight. You get her husband. What is he? The king of ships, or not the king of ships?
But
master of ships.
Lord of ships. Yeah, master of ships is his title.
Right.
Corlys Velaryon. Yeah.
Yep. And so, right off the bat, like I already knew in the first episode, that what we were going to have was the complex. The Game of Thrones was going to turn into who was going to marry the king, right? And we knew that what we had was the Hand's daughter, who was, in my eyes, was going to win automatically, because unless someone came out and like killed her, she had just enough craziness with the whole fingernail dwindling that things were just going to go crazy. The angle of bringing in the other Targaryen daughter, the Valyrian daughter, I guess would be the correct way to say that, was something that I was expecting, but I didn't realize how uncomfortable I would be with it, even though it's like Game of Thrones universe. And I don't know why I would feel uncomfortable with that. But it was just kind of like last episode's moment of cringe or whatever was the C-section and him making the decision. And now in this episode, it's like marrying
trying to marry a 12-year-old.
12-year-old.
The girl he ends up marrying is a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So even still, it's not much better. And one of the things that the show does really well is it pointing you in the direction that it is set in a realistic medieval world. And they used to do shit like that, man. Like you would make a marriage for alliances and troops and all this other stuff, and to build your house as well. And like
They've
as
done that
soon
up until
as
like the last 100 years.
yeah, man, but especially then, as soon as a girl had her first period, she was ready to have a child, and then you're ready to go. So yeah, it shows you the world that they live in. But what's even more messed up is all of the people that advise Viserys are like, yeah, dude, you should marry her.
Yeah.
If you're making an alliance with the Valerians, I mean, that's the two most powerful houses. They both have roots to old Valyria, which we learn more about in this episode. It makes sense from that standpoint. Uh, but I even love the little girl because you can tell that like she's just doing what her father is telling her to do, and she's repeating the line and why she would be a perfect match. But she's also fascinated with dragons, and I want everyone to remember that because that's not going to be a throwaway thing. That's going to have some story that goes with it later on. Um, but yeah, it made sense to everyone except to the king. And now, I know you saw what happened at the end of the episode. That is the moment that caused things to move forward. Basically in the third episode, what we're gonna see next, uh, because of Corlys Valerion being spurned yet again by the king. So, uh, yeah, it has some really good moments. The show was by far more toned down than episode one. There wasn't as much action and drama and violence as the first one. But
I'd argue that there is more drama. I think that it was done in a
yes,
totally different way, but yes.
yes, not high octane drama, but character building. A
And
lot.
story moving, like
Yeah,
what I saw in this episode was what I felt in the first one. And I knew they couldn't tell because I knew that in the first one they had more, like you said, action,
right.
and it was focused on the king's dream, and that dream of him having a kid and the swords battling and like all these other things. And so when all of that happened, it it was unfolding on your screen as he was
Yeah,
describing it. I thought that was, fantastic, I guess, to see it happen on the screen. But the drama in this one was mixed in because, like you said, the daughter was speaking the father's words to the king. She was not only speaking the words, she was brought up, she was bred for this.
yeah,
I mean, there was no struggle. Even though she was talking about the dragons, she came out the forthright and was just ready to have that conversation. And it's like, she is not old enough to be ready for
no,
this.
not at all. And yeah, like I said, and the the girl Allison Hightower that he ends up marrying is only 15 years old. And by the way, I love the symbolism too. If you noticed, uh, in the first episode, Viserys cut his pinky finger on the Iron Throne, and now in this episode, it started to fester. Well, what do they do? The Maesters put the maggots all over his hand, and it's kind of symbolic of the people feeding off of Viserys, and that's the people around him. So if you notice in the first episode, uh, Otto Hightower keeps on telling Alicent to visit Viserys and visit him in his chambers. And, it's always implied that he's talking about sending his daughter to go have sex with the king, but it never goes as far as to show that. But it's also something that you can tell she is uncomfortable with. Like, yeah,
Oh
she
yeah,
might have a good time talking with him, but at the end of the day, it's something that her father is forcing upon her, for the same reasons that Corlys wanted to marry his daughter to the king. It's unprecedented power, wealth, opportunity for your house for generations to come.
yeah.
And
The only way I can describe it is almost being, because there's not many sports that you're number one at, unless you're like an Olympic person or you're like a race car driver, right? Like
Right.
those you get like first, second, third, and really everyone wants to be first. If you're not first, you're last. Take that.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is that, and all these people want to get right back up on top. And so, how do you do it? How, like, at what point do you bow out? You don't. You keep playing the game, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Hightower,
Go
the
ahead.
Hightower situation is, you're right. I mean, like, it's, you see her slowly losing it. They never mention. There you go. They they never mention it by word to say that, hey, you need to go sleep with the king because that's what's important and that's what's going to get, the high tower the big money.
Yeah.
But we know what's going to happen. You see her internal struggle, you see her external struggle really at the same time, and then you see her to turn around and actually play the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that is, can you still see me? Can you
Oh
hear
yeah.
me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because on mine, it doesn't show me. And mine is like a scrolling wheel. I don't know if anyone else can see me. Tim said I needed to change my background, dude. So I
You
changed my
took him up on
background.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
took him up on it. But no, yeah. So what I was gonna say is that, like, a lot of this show, especially in terms of Rhaenyra and Alicent, it's these two young women taking their power in a world that isn't built for women. That you really have to fight for your own agency, and that's really what this whole entire show is going to be about: a male heir and a female's right to power and rule, and what she is and isn't capable of doing from a position of power. Alicent does that in her own way, talking to Rhaenyra when they're
Mhm.
praying for both of their dead mothers. She kind of takes that role about her. But also, when she broke the dragon piece, the little piece that Viserys had been working on, it shattered, and she had it fixed and brought it back to him. And Viserys probably saw this as the mending of a fractured Targaryen house between Viserys and his brother. So there's a lot of symbolism happening in this show, all the time, really. Also, even Rhaenyra, you know, her father and Otto Hightower are constantly pushing her to the side. She says, "Oh, we'll take the stepstones with our dragons," and Otto is like, "Don't you have some better shit to be doing?"
That scene, dude. When we talk about the things that the tension that gets built in these shows, because Game of Thrones did the same thing with its tension. There are certain times with this show pulling the
Yeah,
parallel of the Queen and the Targaryen Queen herself. Now we're at a point to where you're seeing the other side of it, to where
yeah,
it's, you see why they need to be who they need to be, because the
yeah,
moment that they're given that power, it's the well, it was the first season of Game of Thrones where Daenerys had that moment with her brother, right?
yeah,
And like now you see it to where uh, is it? What'd you say, Rhaenyra?
yeah,
Is that
Rhaenyra.
so?
Yeah,
Rhaenyra with her position, she's not in the position to be capable to do that kind of crap to like anyone else
right.
yet. But you see that tension building. She just like, she's mumbling these motherfuckers right underneath her breath the whole entire
Yeah,
time because they
yeah,
all just bent the knee to her to be the next
right.
queen, the heir. And now that you're in this position, you're just like, oh, when the gavel gets passed, you're hung, you're on a spike, you're going down. I mean, like,
Oh
you're just
yeah,
taking names. So
yeah,
for her to carry on to where she does at the end of this episode, which I'll jump to it real fast.
yeah,
When Hand Hightower gets sent to go do the bidding of the king because it's not safe enough for the king, which look, rightfully so. He was
yeah,
right. The king did not need to go, especially not
right.
in like a screwed up condition. But Daemon was already to a point to where you knew he was ready to pop off.
Yeah,
he was ready to kill, and not only that, his dragon was like literally sitting there ready to attack.
Yeah.
To have Rhaenyra show up at, I mean, she put her pants on and made him look like a bitch, and he hated it.
Yeah. And think
But
how
it's
bad that would have been for everyone involved
absolutely,
if Rhaenyra hadn't shown up. Okay, what? Then let's say something terrible happens. Daemon kills okay, the hand of the king and a few Kingsguard and a maester. Then it's like your house
war.
is yeah, that's war, man.
Hmm.
Dude, there's so much terrible things that could have happened. But if Rhaenyra wouldn't have stepped up and done what she was explicitly warned to not do, then it would have ended in absolute catastrophe. And you see the power that dragons hold. I mean, really, it's like, okay, you have a dragon. Well, guess what? So do I. So it's like
Yep.
we're at a bit of a standstill here. And I love the balls on Rhaenyra. She's like, I'm the one that took your spot. You were disinherited for me. I'm the
Yep.
problem. Kill me right
Yep.
now. Kill me right now, uncle. If you have that
Mhm.
much of a problem, do it right now. Because, by the way, the heir to the Iron Throne, their castle is Dragonstone. So you're sitting in my castle right now. So, dude, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought that, and I knew from the first episode. I mean, like, well, I knew enough with just reading about what this was going to be about,
Right.
where they were going to head this direction. But seeing it is a completely different thing, and I think that says wonders to not only the directing and the cinematography, but being able to see what I already knew was going to happen, and not even like on the level that you know, because I haven't read the books, but just the level that I do know
Yeah.
is spectacular. And maybe it's because I've already like invested so much with Game of Thrones, and I know the level that they can
Yeah.
take it. But seeing the two of them head to head, to her come out and be like, "You need to zip your pants back up because this ain't your world." I don't know if you know this, but when you checked out, I filled in, and you can't go backwards.
Yeah.
I thought that whole entire thing was perfect, and
Yeah.
mainly because they didn't kill anybody.
Right.
His second wife, got really pissed at him, which
Yeah.
showed, like, it really showed her stature. It showed her mentality, and it showed that you can't put lipstick on a pig, more or less.
Yeah.
The only thing that was missing from that whole entire scene was when they went back to have their little fight. I was like, when did that table get made? Because I missed the table in the Dragonstone, in the main.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember when it got made, but I'm like, that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
only
You
thing
mean
that was missing from that
the
scene.
table of Westeros?
Yes,
Like, yeah,
yes, yes.
so you should theoretically see that at some point, because that table has been built, because that was built by Aegon the Conqueror, the guy that originally conquered Westeros, and the big skull that you see
Yep.
when Viserys is talking to Rhaenyra, that was the dragon that Aegon rode when he conquered Westeros.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Here's another thing that it's one of those things that I can provide the insight on it, but if you weren't paying attention to it, you missed it, right? When Viserys is talking to Lena Valerian, the little girl that that they're trying to hitch him off to, they're talking about a dragon named Vagar. And
Hmm.
for those of you who don't know, dragons in this world, they never stop growing, and they have lifespans of hundreds of years. So Balerion, once upon a time, that big giant skull, that was the biggest dragon to ever live, right? Well, the other dragon that came with it, Vagar, that's the dragon that they're talking about. That people have seen it nesting on the coast because it's too big to fit inside the dragon pit. And this dragon, which is in the show, and you're going to see it, is the biggest dragon to ever live. Because by this point in the story, Vagar has grown to be even bigger than Balerion was. So you're going to see the most mythical, badass dragon in the history of pretty much all of Westeros. in this show when you finally see Vagar. Vagar is like a nuclear bomb in this world.
I'm gonna tell you right now, when that happens on screen, there must be the and Mike was bringing this up in chat. It was a music thing, but I already thought it because I'm a humongous movie guy music guy when it comes to this stuff. There better be the most badass soundtrack playing to the widest wings that
Yeah.
you've seen on screen in the Game of Thrones thing. It better be massive. If they pull back on the scale of this thing, I'm gonna be so pissed.
So they didn't spend Game of Thrones level money. I mean,
Right,
Ring of Power level
right,
money.
right, right.
But they spent some bang. Dude, HBO goes all out in their shows. And as someone that has read Fire and Blood and who knows what like where the books are going, dude, it's gonna be so fucking epic, man. Like just some of the events that I know that they're gonna depict, seeing them in the show is gonna be insane. It's I'm so pumped, man. I'm
Dude,
pumped for it, dude.
how many episodes of the show are we looking at?
Um, I believe there's 9 episodes to this season. I believe. I might need to look that up.
Exactly.
It's either 9 or 10. The
Well, most of
first
these,
few of Game of Thrones were 10.
yeah, they were all 10, and I remember like the first four, 4 or 5, right when things started getting a little crazy. They were definitely all 10, and that was the thing when you hit like 10, like you knew what was coming. You didn't know what was coming because if you
Yeah.
watched the first season of Game of Thrones, you didn't know what was coming. But if there are 10 episodes of this show, I don't even like. We know now that they have a second season coming out, and I know that they can tell this story. Like we know where it eventually ends. Well, we know where we get to with Game of Thrones, but at the same time, madness can ensue, and I want to see nothing but raging dragon battles, pissed off people. We know that the Valyrians end up dying off because they don't exist in like the
Yeah.
Game of Thrones Westeros world.
Right.
So I mean, like there's just so much that I want to see, and I'm so ready to see it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. How many seasons do you think the show could go on for, realistically?
In my mind, I think realistically like 5 or 6.
Okay.
And see, here's the beautiful thing about it. House of the Dragon could go on for years and years and years, but this story will end. So
Right.
there were 300 years of Targaryen kings, and they could explore so many different kings in other shows to come, and other things that have happened with the Targaryens. And like George R. R. Martin still has to write another Fire and Blood book, and that's what future shows and future Targaryen stuff is going to be about the next book. But
He
this
seems busy
show,
on building a universe.
yeah, dude. But he gets so sidetracked.
Oh,
He's
no.
trying to finish the Winds of Winter, but then he'll go and do a convention, or then he has to go and write some other shit, and it's like, come on, man, finish your story. But yeah, it should. I would for this show, 5 or 6 seasons sounds about right to me.
Well, we know this season's getting a time jump.
Yes, at some point you are going to have a considerable time. And that's another thing to realize. Everything that you're looking at is basically like a prologue.
Right.
Like it really is like a prologue.
This is all the
for
reason
sto-
behind what's going to happen.
Right, for everything that
Yeah.
you're going to see. Like this is a prologue to the larger events that are going to occur. And by the way, some of the main characters that are the most important in this show haven't even been born yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they pull all this off.
What king are we on? I mean, are we only on the second Targaryen king, or how many kings are we deep now? That's the phrase I'm going to use from now on. How many kings are we deep?
We are on the 5th Targaryen king. So it's
All right.
100 years after Aegon the Conqueror, and
And there's hundreds of Targaryen king, or hundreds of years of Targaryen kings.
300 years. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I know, dude. There's so much, but all of it is worth it though. When you actually read all the different parts of the story that George has written in different books, it's like the world building is like a master class level of world building
right.
from the houses and the heraldry and the background and the bloodlines and the dragons and there's so many different things and the war, the detail of how gruesome and brutal war was during that time period. The books go into all of that. Like they go into the heart of what it is to hack a person apart, and most of the time you're doing it for your lord. Like you have been, uh, summoned by your lord to go and fight in some war for no other benefit other than the powers that be that are using you as a foot soldier. So
Yeah.
yeah, they do a good job at expanding upon all of that.
All I can say, I'm here. I don't like. I'm sitting here trying to go back with this whole entire episode. I mean, the two main points were number one, you can marry too young, and number
Yeah,
two, don't shit where you eat. No, Damon
yeah,
totally did that, and not only that, but he had his little niece come out and
yeah,
and, and teach him who's boss. So I don't know. All I can say is that I will probably watch this at least once a week.
yeah,
I think the last two episodes I've watched twice,
yeah,
and that's really trying to like unpack what is happening,
yeah,
and it's a lot. And I'm way back on for it. I miss the Game of Thrones days. I've said countless times, on this podcast alone, that I've gone back and rewatched the seasons, almost all of the seasons before like the next season comes out.
yeah,
Anytime I have to introduce someone to like Game of
yeah, yeah,
Thrones, like
yeah.
I'm watching the whole entire thing up to that point.
Right.
And so I don't know, it hasn't gotten old for me yet.
Yeah,
And I'm not
yeah,
sure that it's going to. I'm happy with
yeah,
that. I'm
yeah.
on board with it.
And so, like, while we still have like Tin Tizzy in the chat, we've been going back and forth like Lord of the Rings versus Game of Thrones. Like, part of the reasons why I prefer Game of Thrones is because like we were talking about the orcs earlier, right?
Hmm.
And it's like if it's a bunch of people and you're fighting the orcs, the good guys and the bad guys are very clearly defined in that scenario. In Game of Thrones, you're never gonna have a clear definition of who the good guys and the bad guys are.
No,
And
it's literally
and that
trust no one.
yeah, and that's what kind of draws me into it. But, it's like the human emotion, the human aspect of it, but to see people that you love do some terrible shit, and then you're like, oh man, and then you have a character that maybe you've been hating on forever, and then they do something that redeems themselves, and
Dude,
you're like, oh no, I
Joffrey.
like this dude.
Joffrey never redeemed himself. But
Yeah,
you look at the hate that character has
yeah,
in the world, not in pop culture. Like that character is almost known. I mean, like to a point where it's almost sickening. And that kid is
yeah,
he's probably not a kid anymore, not gonna work on too many things ever again because of what
yeah,
they did.
yeah,
You know, his name is escaping me right now, but the actor who played Ned Stark was in so many different things. And when he played Ned Stark,
Sean
he
Bean.
thank you.
Yeah,
He
Sean Bean.
will never be anything else for me.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
Ned Stark.
um, the all of the Stark kids, watching them get picked off one by one, you're like, no, why? How is this happening? Um, Greyjoy, bro. I mean, like, You could say that he like redeemed himself, but talk about a character arc.
Yeah.
You're right, and I get where you're coming from. Like Tolkien has history. Period. Flat out, 110%. You can't
Yeah.
rob the history that Tolkien has, and you
Oh
can't
yeah.
rob the story that he's created. But Game of
Mhm.
Thrones is a dramatic,
It's a shift. And,
heavily dramatic
and by the
shift.
way, there would be no George R. R. Martin without J.R.R. Tolkien. And
Right.
he has said that numerous times. Like there is no Game of Thrones if there isn't a Lord of the Rings. Um, I think that Game of Thrones brought adults into the fantasy genre. Like for a long time, if you were into fantasy, it was either a very niche kind of thing, or it was like more
Yeah.
for kids and like Dungeons and Dragons type of shit that a lot of people might not have been into. But Game of Thrones really like made a a really high fantasy world that adults are into because of what I was telling Sarah, the politics, the violence, the tits. Yes, Tentissy, the
Yes.
tits. The tits are incredible sometimes,
Nipples for
but
days.
nipples for days, bro. But
I think
yeah, man, I
HBO
just
actually had the other half of that equation too. I think that bringing that story was half of it. Bringing it to HBO was the other half. Reaching the audience
yes,
because, like you said, HBO has always had a history of.
right,
I was a kid. No, I wasn't a kid. I mean, I was a young adult watching Sopranos. I
yeah,
was everything, The Wire, everything that came up through the HBO ranks.
yeah,
Like I was on that game watching it, and it was
yeah,
all next level storytelling. And I feel like Game of Thrones launched it into the next level. And here we are now watching this show with expectations. If
yeah,
that doesn't tell you anything, like that right there is a big
yeah.
thing.
No, that's a great point. The HBO with Sopranos, 6 Feet Under, and The Wire, like
Yeah,
they have a long history of
of
yeah,
great
of
storytelling.
yeah, of fantastic storytelling, adult storytelling, and they hit it out of the park, man. Like uh, HBO is very notoriously picky about uh, the pilot episodes that they choose to run with. Because they'll put a lot of money in. If they don't think the show is going to be good, then they'll cancel that shit fast as hell. And
Yep.
they by the way, they
Not as
did that
fast as
with
Netflix, but they will.
yeah, they did that with Game of Thrones though. They shot the
Mhm.
pilot and everyone thought it was terrible. So they made them reshoot the pilot and they recast Daenerys. So Daenerys had a different actor when the show started. And a lot of people don't know that. So yeah, HBO does a tremendous job of picking the right stories at the right time. But this is their heavyweight title now. Game of Thrones. I know you've probably seen this. The first two episodes have been viewed more than the first two episodes of any show in history.
Yeah.
Like it's a phenomenon, man. The same enthusiasm that people had when Game of Thrones fever was at its height, it feels like it's back right now. So
And
I'm loving it, dude.
I talked about that with Sarah for a minute, talking about the water cooler shows, and that's important because we haven't had too much with the way that streaming has been ever since ever since really Game of Thrones. The beginning of Game of Thrones was like that culture phenomena,
Yeah.
and it Game of Thrones really ended the way that people used to watch shows week to week.
Hmm.
Then things got all weird. I mean, like, we turned around, we did COVID, we had everything else happen. Like,
Yeah.
Everything drops like full seasons. Now we're back. And so it's funny seeing how it works now. And
Yeah. Yeah.
actually, so like, uh, Mike in the chat brings up like a really good point. Like, I'm humongous. Like, I love Harley Quinn. I was talking about it earlier. I talked about it for like past few weeks. No one else wants to watch the show, but I'm all over it. Same thing, week to week. I get so ticked off because I have to wait week to week,
Yeah.
but like Game of Thrones, like I'm used to. So it's weird it's weird
Yeah.
now how that works, but it's fun, and I'm happy that it's back, I guess,
Yeah.
because each week on this show we talk about so many different shows, but I mean it's amazing now that we have Lord of the Rings, we
Yeah.
have Game of Thrones, we have Marvel doing their thing. We're about to get a Star Wars show start up at the end of this month.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. There's
where
never
the
been a
hell was
better.
I?
Yeah. Th-
Like, why am I not growing up right now? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. There's never been a better time to like all these worlds have they're so big that you can pick each and every different story and make a bunch of different shows from different parts of the world of all these different all these different properties. Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's incredible, man. And Tintis
Oh
is
yeah.
right. I do think this Rings of Power show is going to be a lot darker than Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So I'm into it. Like I said, I'm not. I feel like a lot of people, especially since they're dropped like back to back from one another, people are like doing this Game of Thrones versus Lord of the Rings thing. To me, it's not really that way. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love Game of Thrones, and I'm not really well adept in Lord of the Rings, world lore. So this show is like my jump off point to it. So I'm into it. I'm happy to see where it all leads and where it all goes. And the final point too that I have is like it's kind of like a throwback. I feel like as we've moved into digital content and streaming platforms, and also binge watching stuff, binge watching the first episode to the last one, like the days of people gathering around the television at the same time all around the country and around the around the world in some spots. It's like, dude, how much longer as a species are we gonna have shit like that?
Yeah.
Like we honestly don't know. We really don't know.
Especially now with like share play and like everyone can watch from
Yeah.
wherever they want to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
1000%.
No, hey, I'm gonna cap it off. It's a
Yeah.
great time to be alive.
Oh yeah. For
I
sure.
mean, and
For
football
sure.
season is
Right around the corner, man.
right around the
Dude,
corner.
it's perfect, dude. Everything is jumping off nicely right now.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah, man.
I can't think of a whole lot that we really need to go back over with that, but you just tell people where they can find you, Cody.
Yeah, man. Find me at Cody Lack on Twitter, CODYLAC, co-host of the C3 Panthers podcast with Greg, Tony, and CK. We do it every Tuesday night and every Friday night at 7. So I've been podcasting for 4 hours and 20 minutes as of right now, dude. So yeah, I'm getting ready to go and take a load off. But
Do that.
yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man. I love to. I mean, this is my outlet to come and discuss this stuff. So happy to be here,
Dude,
man.
we welcome everybody. This whole show is basically just talk about things that you like.
Yeah, I love it.
Don't waste your energy on things you don't. Love what you love.
Love it, man.
I'm
Love
Ross. You can't find me anywhere but here. If you want to talk, we'll find a way to make it happen. Hit us up in the chat. We'll definitely make something happen. You can find Greg whenever he gets the internet back. I believe he is still at the Bat Daddy 52 on Twitter.
That's it.
And Sarah, Greg, Cody, myself, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you guys next week.
Peace and love.
Later.